Good morning, family, and thank you for joining Exploring the Motherland, African News with Garth. I am your host, Garth. Thank you for joining me this morning. Exploring the Motherland is a show solely purposed to promote the message of Quest to Unite Africa. And I'm guessing you all are wondering, those who haven't been here before, what is the mission of Quest to Unite Africa? Well, good thing I am here to tell you. The mission of Quest Unite Africa is to promote economic development and critical infrastructure for the benefit of the African diaspora and the African continent as well. We promote economic development and critical infrastructure through our four main initiatives: business, medical, technological innovation, and cultural engagement. Exploring the Motherland will not only be promoting the mission of Quest Unite Africa, we are going to speak about how it relates to our mission, the different African news developments currently going on, and how it all coincides with what we do here at Quest Unite Africa. But that's my intro. I'm not going to spare you all too long, and let's begin the show. Burkina Faso nationalizes 2 gold mines, ending legal dispute between rival companies.
The Bongu and Wanyan gold mines in Burkina Faso were previously owned by an African mining company. But this is now set to change, as Ouagadougou agreed a deal on Tuesday to nationalize the mines for around $80 million. Last year, Endeavour Mining had agreed to sell the mines to Lilium Mining for almost 4 times that sum. The companies had been locked in a legal dispute, with Endeavour accusing Lilium of missing payments, while Lilium alleged that London-listed Endeavour had misrepresented financial information about the mines. However, as part of Tuesday's settlement, they will abandon these legal cases. The nationalisation follows a growing pattern of African governments, especially those under military juntas, seeking to exert control over their natural resources.
Well, you heard that news clip. This is a step in the right direction for Burkina Faso. They just continue to understand how vital it is to take control of your resources and to stop letting exports out of your country without your own, without fostering a deal that promotes economic development. One, by allowing you to build up your own infrastructure with whatever resources you have. And 2, that also keeps the jobs in-house and gives jobs to Burkinabe people when it relates to gold mining. And I have another video of our African brother explaining it. And then after that, I will go into further detail how Quest Unite Africa would help in that scope of this development and this exciting time where our brothers and sisters are waking up and doing what's needed to take back our land and our birthright and our inheritance. And this brother's channel is called Make Africa Great.
Africa, all over the people of Africa in the continent and in the diaspora. We have to tribalize this continent. Hello, greetings everyone. You are most welcome. I have a good news from the country of uprising men, Burkina Faso, where the country has decided to nationalize 2 gold mines. This nationalization marks a new chapter for Burkina Faso's gold industry. It's a move that reflects the country's determination to take control of its own destiny, ensuring that the wealth beneath its soil benefits all its people. Burkina Faso is renowned for its rich natural resources, especially gold. Gold mining plays a vital role in Burkina Faso's economy, contributing to over 70% of country's export revenues. Government officials have stated that the nationalization is a strategic move to safeguard the country's resources and ensure that the benefits of gold mining are more equitably distributed among the people of Burkina Faso. Industry experts believe this move could set precedent for other African nations where foreign control of natural resources has often led to conflicts and economic challenges. So, kings and queens, what you see here, this is the plane in the space of Democratic Republic of Congo. All of us, we know that there's no control of natural resources in Democratic Republic of Congo. People are coming, taking natural resources, going out because of conflicts. But now Burkina Faso has taken a step to stop such kind of things to happen in Burkina Faso. Now Burkina Faso is taking control of its natural resources, especially in gold industries. You remember this year in January, Captain Ibrahim Traore opened first mine waste treatment facility, and the idea of Captain Ibrahim Traore is to refine domestic production of the country's leading export in the country rather than abroad. All of us, we know if we export our resources without adding value, we're exporting jobs, we're exporting innovation, we're exporting creativity. So by allowing our resources to be refined here in the continent of Africa, we are going to increase jobs, we are going to increase creativity, and also we are going to add value, and we are going to get more money than we get in these low export. So this is a good move for Captain Ibrahim Traore. Not only Captain Ibrahim Traore, we wish other African leader to take the same steps. I heard one day from President of South Africa, President Ramaphosa, said that from now and then, South Africa is not going to export its natural resources into raw forms. Instead, the country is going to build industries to add value to minerals. But I suggested and advised, in order for Africa to achieve adding value to our natural resources, instead of exporting our resources into raw forms, we must have a meeting and agreed as Africans that from now and then we're not going to export our natural resources as Africa, not as an individual countries. Then from there we can sign an agreements, because if we don't do so, if Burkina Faso is going to restrict export of natural resources, they will go to other countries. They will not buy from Burkina Faso. If South Africa is going to stop export of our natural resources into raw forms, they will go to other countries. They will go to Congo. They will get the same resources in other countries. You see?
All right, so the full video is in the description box, and that brother's channel is Make Africa Great. And you heard him. This is how you spark economic development and critical infrastructure by Burkina Faso controlling its exports. They also are able to control the refining process, and they could also control employment and their workforce and who they want to be responsible of their mines and things of that nature. And then you hear, because this is a cultural shift going on in Africa, where different countries, well, specifically Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, have made a strategic partnership in mind to now, for lack of a better term, get on code and keep those resources within Africa, and to only do deals that benefit Africans as a whole. And now here comes the part with Q2A. We here at Q2A have experts. We could find experts within our own people, within the African diaspora, who have expertise in mining, and we could help our brothers and sisters with that process of exploration, designing, engineering. These are different steps that need to be taken in processing, mining, and things of that nature in the mining industry. And we do this through consultation. We set up a plan, we meet together, we figure out what their goals are for these upcoming mining projects so we can optimize the operations to increase profitability for their projects and to increase the proficiency of their mining practices and the sustainability, and just setting goals and really helping to develop and to set to empower our brothers and sisters, so we give them a model that they could further build upon to keep empowering the people and build their nation. And we also see, again, the cultural shift in Niger as well, that they have taken control of their uranium mines. So what we're seeing here is a cultural shift in Africa for resources, taking control of resources, and it will only continue to grow. And here at Quest Unite Africa, we want to facilitate that growth and help consult our brothers and sisters to do the best, what's in the best interest for them. And as a whole, that will help all of us together as we build together with the strategic relationship of continuing business on the continent. And not only that, we also have job creation for our own people throughout the diaspora and the African continent through consultation is one of them. And mining practices and mining sustainability is something very important. So I will continue to the next story. And Nigeria is it's crazy. Let me just start the story. Let me just play it.
Many Nigerians have expressed outrage following the purchase of a new aircraft for President Bola Tinubu. According to local media, the acquisition, which cost over $100 million, has drawn sharp criticism against a government perceived by many as disconnected from the hardships of its citizens. The country is experiencing its worst economic crisis in decades. The Nigerian presidency's new Airbus A330 landed in France a week ago for a brief working visit by President Bola Tinubu. Many see the plane as the latest in a series of the government's extravagant purchases. Former Education Minister Obi Ezekwesi described the new jet as a symbol of the administration's fiscal recklessness and dishonesty since coming to power a year ago. The presidential spokesperson, on the other hand, stated that the aircraft was purchased on the recommendation of the Senate Security Committee and was a good deal, but well below market price.
Again, out of touch leaders leading their people astray, misallocating funds. Just think about it. How can the leadership be so, what's the word, obstinate in their condition to continue to spend money on things that don't benefit their people immediately? This is just another misapplication of funds, and this is just another, for lack of a better term, Tinubu is a puppet for the West, and he continues to double down on his incompetence of not meeting with the people, of not listening to them, not doing anything to spark economic development or create jobs or critical infrastructure. And, it's just sad, but I know our people in Nigeria are waking up to this, and now they understand what's going on. Their bad leadership has led them to this situation of terrible economic growth. They're all The cost of living is too high. At least I'd say they're saying that Nigeria's population is more than 210 million people, but they account for the hungriest people in the world. And how can they be so hungry and destitute when they're one of the most oil-rich nations in the world? That makes no sense. And I have another video going into depth about this purchase of the plane and how, how terrible of an optic this is, and how it's going to just continue to spark more anger and discontent from the people in its population.
Hello and welcome. Our top focus today is Nigeria, where citizens are fuming over what they call is their president's extravagance. Nigerian President Bola Tinubu has bought a new jet at a time when the country's economy is experiencing its worst crisis in a generation. The newly purchased Airbus A330 replaces a Boeing 737-700, now taking the number of aircraft in the president's fleet to over 5. President Bola Tinubu used his new jet to travel to France on the 19th of August, which his office says was a brief working visit. Social media users in Nigeria called President Bola Tinubu insensitive to the plight of average Nigerians. Some even called out the government for telling Nigerians to bear the economic hardship, while they themselves were busy paying cash for a new private jet. The president's purchase of a new jet comes less than a fortnight after thousands took to the streets across Nigeria, protesting against the rising cost of living and hunger. In defense, the president's office says the new jet will save Nigeria huge maintenance and fuel costs, running into millions of dollars each year. The government said the 19-year-old Boeing plane malfunctioned, and during the president's trip to Saudi Arabia in April of this year, the office also said the new aircraft was bought far below the market price. Now, Nigeria has not revealed the exact amount of money it used in purchasing the Airbus A330, a 15-year-old plane with elaborate configuration for VIPs. It is also furnished with state-of-the-art aviation electronics, customized interior, and communication system. The new presidential jet was released recently to the Nigerian government after it was seized by a Chinese firm which obtained a Paris court order to seize the Nigerian firm assets following a dispute with Nigeria's Ogun state. Nigerian media reports claim that the new jet was acquired from a German bank after the plane was repossessed from its West Asian owner who defaulted on his loan. Reports also claim this jet was purchased for $100 million. In June this year, Nigerian lawmakers recommended the purchase of 2 new aircraft for the president and also for his deputy, saying the old ones were not safe. Now, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu allegedly has a penchant for air travel, and this is despite tough economic conditions at home. So much so that he, along with Kenya's William Ruto, have been nicknamed the Flying President. Tinubu used his new jet to fly to Paris from Abuja on the 19th of August. He said his office has said that he was on a brief work stay in France. However, the reason for the visit has still not been disclosed. A meeting with either the French president or prime minister is certainly not on the agenda. This is Tinubu's 4th trip to France since assuming office in 2023. In fact, the latest trip to France came just 2 days after he returned from Equatorial Guinea. In the first 8 months of term, Bola Tinubu made 14 trips, an average of just under 2 a month. He reportedly spent at least $2.2 million on domestic and foreign travel in the first 6 months of his presidency, which was 36% more than the budgeted amount for 2023. The Nigerian opposition has often labeled President Tinubu as a tourist in chief. And now
You heard it, a tourist in chief, a flying president. And Brother Sean says, why can't Nigeria build its own planes? That's a great question. I mean, I can't explain how this is not blatantly obvious that Tinubu is a puppet and he's not doing anything to culturally engage with his people in order to help the situation. He just continues to go out of state on these trips for business. I mean, he didn't explain what the trip was for, what these trips are for. Very secretive. And you expect the people to bear the aftermath or bear your bad policies in good faith, but yet you don't disclose any initiatives. You're not forthcoming with what you're spending your money on, and it's just reckless spending. And this will continue to keep Nigeria in poverty if something isn't done. And they talk about fuel prices. I mean, here at Quest United Africa, we have brilliant people, or we have brilliant people within the African diaspora and anywhere that could, we could find a way to alleviate that energy or their fuel costs by, coming up with business initiatives and goals that allow them to have different sources of energy, or, setting up sustainable sources of energy like solar or renewable energy sources, and just educate our brothers and sisters on how they'll be able to, move around or be able to just live without having to rely on the president and the government, because they seem to not care about the people. Because I mean, they're buying $100 million jets while people can't even use electricity or don't have any warm water, or they just continuously have to live in poor conditions. It's kind of sad. I can't. It's just what cost does the government of Nigeria think that they're what are they thinking? I mean, it's been a long day. I've been up really early. Forgive me, family, but Nigeria, the Nigerian people need to, well, they have already understood that their president isn't gonna do what's right and isn't going to lead them out of this bad economic situation, because he's the one who put them in this. But here at Quest United Africa, we are trying to actively find ways to create relationships that benefit one another. And through cultural engagement, we could speak to our brothers and sisters and consult them in ways of trying to be more self-sufficient and be more sustainable when it comes to what they have there, because they have a lot of resources. I mean, Nigeria is one of the third richest countries in oil, next to United States and China, supposedly. But I mean, come on. We know that Nigeria's oil reserves and all their resources are there, and they just need guidance. And that's what we're here to do, guide them and to create a strategic relationships that foster economic development and critical infrastructure. And, what do you know? This is a big surprise. Nigerian President Tinubu visits China seeking economic cooperation.
Away from that, President Bola Tinubu will travel to the People's Republic of China on a state visit in the first week of September. During his trip to Beijing, the president will engage in a series of meetings and activities with immediate and future benefit to the Nigerian economy and the Nigerian people. The special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Ajurin Gelale, says the president will conduct site visits to two major Chinese corporations, Huawei Technologies, as well as the China Rail Construction Corporation. This, according to him, is with a view to achieving one of its top agenda items, which is the completion of the Ibadan to Abuja segment of the Lagos to Kano high-speed rail line. President Tinubu will meet 10 selected chief executive officers of 10 major Chinese corporations with assets under management totaling over $3 trillion across multiple sectors of the economy.
His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will depart for the People's Republic of China, more specifically Beijing, from the nation's capital within the first week of September. Mr. President is to meet with his Chinese counterpart in the person of President Xi Jinping, where several MOUs will be signed. Mr. President will meet 10 selected chief executive officers of 10 major Chinese corporations with assets under management totaling over $3 trillion across multiple sectors of the economy.
Well, you heard it. Tinubu's still, running amok. He's going to China for economic cooperation. What does that mean? Supposedly, they're going to meet and try to develop initiatives and partnerships in the economy, agriculture, and technology. And in this next video, they'll explain it, but China's already a huge investor in Nigeria. And Nigeria is already already has double-digit inflation. And also the economy is still ripe with just bad policies, and it's literally getting worse. But hey, let's go to a foreign entity. Let's go back to the entity. Let's go back to the loan shark, and let's keep on getting money from people who don't really have our people's interest at heart and just literally are using us, the Nigerian people, for influence, And Tinubu is just let me just play the other video and then I'll give my points. This is unacceptable. If I was a Nigerian, I'd be, well, there already are protesting and mad and in uproar, but something has to give.
Hello and welcome. We start with Nigeria. Amid a worsening economic crisis, the West African nation has turned to China for support. Nigerian President Bola Tinubu will meet his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping during a visit to Beijing next week. The two leaders will be discussing cooperation on the economy, agriculture, and technology. Tinubu's agenda includes site visits to two major Chinese companies, Huawei Technologies and the China Rail and Construction Corporation. Tinubu will also meet with 10 CEOs of major Chinese companies across sectors, from oil and gas to information and communications and financial services. Tinubu, who is the chairperson of the regional bloc ECOWAS, will also be attending the China-Africa Cooperation Summit in Beijing, along with other African leaders. Now, the visit comes at a time when Nigeria is seeking investment to boost its economy, which is battling double-digit inflation, foreign currency shortages, and issues such as crude oil theft. In recent years, China has become a key source of infrastructure investment in Nigeria, with a series of projects undertaken by Chinese firms as part of the Belt and Road Scheme. In the year 2023, China was Nigeria's biggest trading partner, but China is also Nigeria's biggest bilateral lender. As per reports, Nigeria's debt obligations to China increased by almost $500 million in the second half of last year to $5.16 billion. A mounting foreign debt that has led to a rise in inflation and widespread hunger spurred a string of violent anti-government protests in Nigeria this month. Not just this, China is also seeking to increase its military presence in Nigeria by planning to establish its military industry in the country. China has already exported various weapon systems to Nigeria, including combat systems. China is also expanding footprint in the nation culturally and educationally, with an increasing number of Nigerian students in China and many Nigerians learning the Chinese language. But this meeting between the two heads of states also comes at a strained time. Just days ago, a Chinese firm had seized assets of the Nigerian federal government, owing to a legal battle with the country's Ogun states. Among the assets seized were also 3 presidential jets. The seizure is a part of the firm's attempt to retrieve its $70 million in an arbitration award against Nigeria. This is linked to a botched 2013 deal with Nigeria's Ogun state to build a free trade area in the state. Now, after the Nigerian state backed out of the deal, citing failure in execution, the Chinese firm has sought restitution. But Nigeria's presidency called the federal asset seizure illegal, emphasizing it as a state issue. Now, it is to be seen if this issue will be resolved through talks in Beijing. Now, Nigeria has traditionally been an ally of the West, with the United States being a major economic and security partner. Meanwhile, China has been expanding its influence in all of Africa, a continent that has turned into a major geopolitical battleground between China, Russia, and the West. Nigeria is trying to maintain its relationship with the West while expanding ties with China amid the severe economic turmoil. Will President Bola Tinubu be able to pull off this tough diplomatic balancing act? Now, for more on this, we have with us Confidence McHarry, Senior Geopolitics Analyst at SBM Intelligence in Lagos. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me once again.
Right now, President Bola Tinubu will be traveling to China in early September. The trip is seen as a strategic move to strengthen bilateral relations between the two nations, while pursuing key economic opportunities. Now, this, of course, at a time when Nigeria has been battling an economic crisis. What are your expectations of Tinubu's visit to China?
I think one of the first things we should be looking at is, for Nigeria's perspective, is to get more loans to finance some of the president's economic objectives. The protest, which began at the start of this month and lasted for about a week, took place because in circumstances what people considered hardship and hunger across board. And one of the reasons why these things are persistent and hardship into household and their spending capacity as well as purchasing capacity. So right now, people are buying a liter of fuel for about 1,300 naira. So one of the reasons the government gave for the removal of these subsidies, especially for fuel, is that it's not sustainable. So to get this done with the backing of the IMF to get palliatives across to people, the government has started a cash transfer of about $16 monthly across 3 months to the most vulnerable sections of the nation. China is about $5.16 billion, which of course doubled towards the end of last year.
Yeah.
I think, given the kind of borrowing spree the government has been on since it came into office, it is unlikely that it will not continue in the same spree when it gets to China. But the question is, will China want to reciprocate in terms of giving more loans to Nigeria? That's the $1 million question.
Now, Tinubu will hold talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping, during which both the leaders will sign several memorandums of understanding to strengthen bilateral ties, as you've touched on there. Now, is this another example of Beijing vying for influence in Africa?
Yeah, oh yeah, of course, one could look at it that way, but you have to take into account the context by which this summit is happening next month. So China's relations with the West, especially within the United States and the European Union, is not in the best of terms. For the Biden administration, it has slapped close to about 100%, if not 100% tariffs on Chinese renewable energy products. We're talking about in context where China accounted for more than half the world's production of electric vehicles and solar panels last year. So part of its business strategy has been to sell them to the West, the United States being inclusive, and the United States trying to also get some production up has been wary of Chinese dumping and the Biden administration decided to slap this 100% tariff increase on Chinese products, especially in terms of renewable industry. And Trump and the second incoming Trump administration is trying to not just slap 100% tariffs on the solar panel industry or renewable energy, but across all board, across all Chinese products. So China is overproducing and they need a market for this. And the European Union is on the heels of following the American example, even though it's not yet set in stone that they are going to be doing the same thing as the United States have done. So which leaves the global south, especially Africa. As you know, many African countries have a lot of energy problems, Nigeria being one of them. So it makes a lot of sense if Nigeria especially is targeted because the solar energy consumption in Nigeria is astronomically high. Unfortunately, I cannot give you the exact figures right now, but many people are putting up the energy efficiencies by going into green and renewable energy. So in many urban areas, especially many city centers, even in Lagos, where I currently live at the moment, it is very unlikely for you to walk into a street without seeing a solar panel or two in one or two houses. So it's a huge market, and this is what is termed as the next big thing for the energy sector and the energy space in Nigeria. So one of the things that the Tinubu government will wanting to get away from this trip is how to get many of all of these solar panels in Nigeria. So it will then become how they are able to get the kind of best deals that will not form any dumping for substandard products in the country.
Confidence, Tinubu will also be visiting major Chinese companies like China Rail and Construction Corporation. Now, this, of course, with the aim of accelerating the completion of the segment of the Lagos to Kano rail project. Can you take us through some of the details here?
All right. So for the Lagos to Kano rail project, it has been something that's been in the works since at least 2019. So when the Niger government was in good terms with Nigeria, both governments, that's the governments of President Muhammadu Buhari as well as the governments of Muhammadu Yusuf in Niger signed the agreement to be financed by the Africa Finance Corporation as well as other funders. So it has been in the works for some time. So as of middle of last year, at the start of last year, a little set of work has begun. But there are some geopolitical concerns concerning it because last year Nigeria almost launched a fateful invasion into the country, which was only stymied at the last minute. So relations between Niamey and Abuja has not really been that good, and especially under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So part of what Tinubu will be looking for as he tries to get Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso back into ECOWAS is how to get that rail up and running. So I do think that one of his bargaining chip is that he is able to get a China that is trying to scale back on its funding of infrastructural projects across the world. So continue to provide funding for this thing. I think it will actually be a great way to repair relations with a recalcitrant regime in Niamey that has refused all avenues and all entreaties to talk to Abuja. So I think this should be a kind of a carrot to set the relations back between Nigeria and Niger.
Yeah. Right. Confidence, thank you very much for being with us on First Post Africa and for your valued insights there.
Thank you for having me, Alison.
Well, you heard him. This is Tinubu's plan to start economic development, and seeking help from China is what he knows and what he will continue to do, and the country will continue to take notice and continue to protest. I mean, and I'm gonna wrap this up shortly, family. I didn't mean to take so long, but essentially what Nigerians need to do is they need to take control of their own economy and take control of their own infrastructure as it's pertaining to energy. And they really need to understand that they have to not let the government export these initiatives or seek these initiatives without their approval or without their influence or without them making these decisions. And Brother Sean so eloquently put it. Yes, I mean, he is a sellout. I mean, he's the epitome of a sellout. And you see how he's literally jousting for position with, either he's trying to keep relationships with America and the West, all while, trying to seek um, help with the critical infrastructure for energy with China and a myriad of other things. It's just going to, it's all going to implode. Nigeria is not going to allow this. And this Chinese influence and all of their all of these things that they're giving to Nigeria, it's not to help them, it's just to bolster their influence. And again, we would help at Quest Unite Africa by consulting with financial advisors on a global level of creating different plans of different investment initiatives and guidances on what they should be spending their money on, helping them make more informed decisions on what deals they do and what initiatives are cost beneficial and which ones are not. And we also need people, we can have people who are assess risk on different deals with different nations, such as China, and see if there's a benefit, which really there isn't. I mean, they should just really find a way to make it homegrown and nationalize everything like they're doing in Burkina Faso and trying to do in the Sahel. And you see that you understand now that they even explained his role in ECOWAS and how he's going to try to get Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso back in ECOWAS. That's not happening. And it's just another reason why we all need your help, family, to help create these initiatives to help our people rise up and take back their country and to empower them and to create that relationship that fosters economic development and critical infrastructure. And we see here in Nigeria them continuing to outsource jobs and outsource resources at the expense of their people. And it's just gross to see. And something is going to have to give. And we are really in crazy times and exciting times for what's happening on the continent. And Brother Sean was having an over under when will he be removed in office. I say by the end of this year that he's going to get kicked out of office, as well as Rudo, but Brother Sean seems to believe it's going to be sooner. But we shall see. And I will I'm going to close out the show. I thank everyone for joining us. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I will be back at the same time next 10 a.m. And family, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for supporting Quest Unite Africa, and you all enjoy your day.